Alright, and welcome back one and all to yet another match here in this weekend's Red Lock CA quarterfinals. My name is It's Pigeon, and today I will be casting yet another losers bracket matchup here between two players, Zecks and Rykaii. Both players, again, as the previous match, only one of them had a match yesterday, the other one had a forfeit. I believe Rykaii had the forfeit this time around. Now is going to be Zecks, who ended up playing against, I believe it was Exia, who won that match 6-2 versus Exia. So this is going to be an interesting one because we're not too sure as for how Rykaii will play in some of these maps, but Zecks seemed pretty keen on picking and winning mostly the Nomads and the Hard Rocks, but we got a little bit of a warm-up here for these players, if I'm not too mistaken. So just a little bit before we get into this actual match, but yeah, it was Zecks playing a lot of the Nomads, a lot of the Hard Rocks. Ended up banning out some of the reading stuff into Exia. I'm not sure if that's just because Zecks is uncomfortable on the reading, or if Exia was actually going to be a lot better at the reading than Zecks was. So stuff like the Hidden 2 and the Nomad 6 were the bans from Zecks. But yeah, real quick warm-up there. You can see one player was actually playing, the other one not so much, but all is good. Just gonna be the one warm-up. And now we get into the real meat and potatoes of this match. Just for a reminder, this is a losers bracket match once again, so the winner of this match will move on into the semifinal stage. And the loser will be knocked out of the tournament entirely, and it's going to be Zecks winning on the roll by a decent margin. It's hard to lose when your opponent rolls a 10, unfortunately, for Rykaii, but second ban is going to be the choice for Rykaii, and first pick from Zecks with an immediate Nomad 6 ban, so it's looking to be a similar ban situation for Zecks. I think the next ban is going to be the Hidden 2. Nomad 2 and DT2 bans from Rykaii, just going to get rid of some of the streamier maps. Which makes a lot of sense, and yeah, just get rid of the reading for Zecks, I think, is the name of the game. Now, a couple of the points that Zecks did end up losing on, I believe, was the, let me find it. I know one of them was on Hidden 3, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Hidden 3 Zecks ended up losing on, as well as the DT1 to Exia in yesterday's match, but we're going right into some banger here from Taylor Swift. Hard Rock 2, this is going to be your hyper precision on the CS8, or 7.9, excuse me. Basically CS8. Real tiny circles, and depending on how this one goes, something like that Hard Rock 3 might be opening up. But we will see how that goes. It's a quick one right into this first map. Hard Rock 2, a little bit of Taylor Swift. You need to calm down. Alright, we need to chill out here. It's CS 7.9, and that's really all the difficulty of this map is. It's hyper precision, which I've been seeing a lot more tournaments as of recent really choose to do like a hyper precision in the Hard Rock 2 slot, and then put the standard CS 6.5 precision map in something like the Hard Rock 3 slot. So this has been relatively what has been expected in most tournaments as of recent, but Zecks going to be the first to fall here on this pick, and it's a short one as well. We're already a quarter of the way through, only 2 minutes 45 seconds in length, so not a whole lot of combo in this map too. So this is the hard part of the map, though. Just these progressing patterns that get slowly bigger and bigger. Right now it's the squares, and Rykaii was the one to hold on to the beginning square patterns, but now it's going to be dropping that combo and has built up an alright lead, about 20,000 points and some change in favor of Rykaii, just off of hitting that first square pattern. But yeah, all of the Ki sections are going to be similar to that one, and finding any misses on the in-between sections is not going to be helping whatsoever, but luckily for Zecks, who did end up finding yet another miss, it is Rykaii going to be trading on that, so not going to be the end of the world for Zecks. Going to keep it well within contention here as we get into the second Ki. Rykaii gonna be finding a couple of chain misses here. On that jump pattern. Does give Zecks a little bit of room to get back into this, especially now as we get into the next section. Now we can see some diamond patterns that are progressively getting more spaced out, and Rykaii continuing to struggle a little bit. That score lead is closed now, down from 30,000, and has already switched over to the way of Zecks, but Zecks finds a miss of their own. So now we're keeping it extremely close here between these two players. Only 7,000 points separating them right now. Zecks did end up getting that switch over just at the very end of that Ki section, but now it's going to be just barely in favor of Zecks, but that combo advantage is in favor of Rykaii. Accuracy-wise, it's looking pretty even for these two players, so that combo can make some pretty big gains as we go into the final section of the map, which is one of the harder sections. Here, Zecks going to be dropping that combo. Does trade it out with Rykaii, though, so here's the next pattern. Super linear, and both players end up hitting it, so we're keeping it really close here. Just barely in favor of Zecks, but any miss from either player could really swing it, and Zecks doesn't miss right at the very end. You saw it switched 5,000 points down right from that last note of a miss. And that's still going to be in favor of Zecks, though, so very good for them to be able to get that first pick on that one. Extremely close Mac, though. Could have very easily gone the way of Rykaii had Zecks found even just one or two other misses right at the very end section. So really close, but still a good job. Well done from Zecks to be able to win on their first pick. Put themselves up 1-0. At least I got my one. I don't understand that logic. I think we saw that in the previous matchup. Earlier today, it was Jason typing something similar to that. I think you should go into every matchup expecting to get more than 1 point, but Hidden 3 is going to be the first pick for Rykaii here. A little bit of tech on the Hidden. Kalkakla from a couple of pretty banger artists, Aaron and Lapix. I think a lot of players are pretty familiar with, if not this song, then at least these artists, as well as the mapper as well. This is going to be some slider tech, if I'm not mistaken, just from looking at the mapper. I'm not fully familiar with the map itself. Alexi is pretty notorious for its slider tech mapping. Yeah, GHF's coming out here. Gonna be getting into map number 2. This is Rykai's first pick on the Hidden 3. See how he fares on this. A little bit of finger control to start this one off. Some quads into doubles. Mixed in with some triples. A little bit of longer bursts. But nothing too out of the ordinary for either of these two players so far, but just looking at accuracy-wise coming out of this beginning section, it's going to be Zecks holding on to just a slight advantage here, just about half an accuracy advantage, so really holding on to a very minor point advantage for that. This is going to be one of the longer maps in the pool. Well, 4.5 minutes, but these players are making it look pretty chill so far. This is where the map kind of starts to go. You get these little overlapping stream patterns. It kind of starts and stops. And Zecks is struggling here. It's very unfortunate. If you end up missing on any of these patterns, then it's very easy to just chain miss the rest of them. And as we see, that is exactly what is happening to Zecks in some of these patterns. So unfortunately, they are tapping just fine, but the aim is just a slight misaim. So Rykaii is heavily taking advantage of the fact that Zecks has found so many misses here, already over 100,000 point score advantage. It's still about 3 minutes remaining in this map, so... Finally ends up dropping right before this first break. It's such an unfortunate spot to miss, but they were able to see Rykaii is holding on to a super sizable lead over Zecks right now. And it's going to be really tough for Zecks to be able to get that one back. Just found so many chain misses on the beginning section, but Rykaii going to be missing on this 1/3 section is going to give a little bit of an advantage towards Zecks, but I mean, it's still moved the way of Rykaii. That accuracy advantage is pulling dividends for Rykaii. Despite finding all these misses, that score is not moving whatsoever. And now it's Zecks dropping combo right at the very end of this 1/3 section as well. It's not going to be helping out their case whatsoever. I think this is probably going to be a point of the way of Rykaii, but there's still half of the map remaining to be played, so anything could happen. But generally speaking, this one is looking to be a point for Rykaii here off their first pick. This map does not get any easier. As we get into even more finger control in this ending section. And Zecks going to be dropping combo once again. I think that almost certainly seals their fate here on this hidden 3, but Rykaii going to be dropping into the this final KI section. Zecks going to be trading though, and yeah, this is just looking worse and worse for Zecks. Still 130,000 points separating these two players as both players find more and more misses on this end section. The spacing starts to get so much for this map. Rykaii is doing a solid performance here to be able to keep Zecks at bay. And as I mentioned before, this was one of the maps that Zecks actually lost in their match versus Exia yesterday, so Rykaii doing a little bit of scouting, just given that Rykaii didn't actually have to play a match yesterday. They had their forfeited into them, so there's a little bit of an advantage of knowing kind of what Zecks was good at and what Zecks wasn't necessarily the best at. Rykaii very easily will take this point. Tying things up 1-1. Making things a little bit interesting here. $430,000 points will be the final score for Rykaii. Pretty nice, almost 300,000 for Zecks, and all is said and done, but yeah, at the end of the day, Rykaii will be taking that point. And it's going to go back the way of Zecks now for the choice as to what they want to play next. Zecks actually getting about the same score as what they got in their match yesterday versus Exia. And Rykaii more or less also getting about the same score as Exia. So almost a complete repeat of what we saw in yesterday's match for Zecks, but we're gonna see this Hard Rock one now. This one's gonna be some slider aim actually in the Hard Rock slot, so will be an interesting one. GLHS are coming out, so I do believe these two players are prepared here for this one. This map's that has a lot of tapping picks in it, but this one is going to be more unconventional jump into slider aim. I was mistaken in a match earlier today that I casted, expecting this to be a lot more shred heavy, but no, this is actually just pretty heavy on the aim department. Starting this one off. Did get a very early miss from Rykaii, but not really going to make too big of a difference. It's just so early on in the map that it doesn't really necessarily say whether or not they're going to be able to do good or not. So. Something every difficulty in this map set does is just this big pause right here. So these players will see that Rykaii did end up dropping combo. That could add a little bit of nerves for Zecks, but for the time being, Zecks is holding on to the score advantage, as well as the combo advantage once more. Rykaii going to be dropping combo in this first Ki section, and Zecks is doing good to hold on to these combos. But it's going to be so easy to find any miss for either of these players. Just so many sliders to slider break on. Right now, both players have stabilized. Rykaii has stabilized, excuse me. Zecks is still holding on to the FC, so 78,000 points now in favor of Zecks. Going into the second Ki section is a pretty sizable score lead halfway through the map now. Over 100,000. Rykaii needs some mistakes from Zecks, and Rykaii is going to be finding a couple more mistakes of their own now. Zecks finally does end up dropping. That is going to be a chain miss as well, so that does put a pretty big stop on the score, but fact is, Rykaii ended up trading that miss once Zecks found it, so that's not going to be helping Raikai's case whatsoever. Finding even more misses into this kind of bridge section. Double trades here for both of these players, so this is still going to be in favor of Zecks when all is said and done. One final pause right before the very end of the map. 1 quarter left remaining. 130,000 points is going to be very tough for Rykaii to get back. I'm actually willing to bet that this is already done and dusted. This is going to be second point on the board for Zecks. Yeah, Rykaii going to be not holding on to the combo going into the end section. And Zecks is putting on a pretty hefty performance here, already cresting 500,000 points on this pick. So very, very nice score from Zecks to be able to bounce back from that first point from Rykaii. Make things 2-1. Both players so far winning all of their own picks thus far in this one, so they are doing pretty solid. 160,000 points will be the separating factor. Rykaii doing their best to keep this one close. Yeah, just unfortunately found a lot of their misses in inopportune times. About 200 combo each was when they found all of their misses. Only had 5 misses. And relatively similar accuracy. I mean, when you see it on Zecks' accuracy, but still Rykaii keeping it within half of accuracy points. So Rykaii gonna keep to the agenda of picking the hiddens into Zecks. I think Zecks is a lot less comfortable on the hiddens than Rykaii, but we'll see here. This one's gonna be more of a swing map on this hidden 4. Catch World Cup custom song, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Her last year's CWC. Absolute banger. This will be from the Cytosine map set. Mapped by Ibels, and yeah, it's just swing. It's swing in the hidden pool. A little bit of finger control, a little bit of aim control. Just good old-fashioned swing. GLHFs come out. At number 4 here, this is Raikai's second pick. Will you be seeing these two players win on their own points once more? Yeah, Osu Original CWC 2024. So shoutouts Absolute Castaway. This wonderful custom song. It's gonna be Zecks first to fall and finding a pretty big chain miss as well, dropping massive accuracy on this beginning section. That 1/3 was not favorable to Zecks whatsoever. And that guy's gonna be taking a pretty sizable advantage just because of that massive chain miss. Accuracies for these two players aren't looking the best for either of them, but in the match earlier today, the accuracies were about 90 each for both these players. So the fact that Rykaii is just about at 94% is pretty solid here. Zecks gonna be dropping combo once more before this first Ki section. Not a spot you want to be missing, especially after already having such a massive chain miss pretty early on. And yeah, Rykaii is really making moves here on this hidden 4. Already over 95%, and I mean, just looking so solid right now. Zecks finding yet another drop. Already 120,000 point score lead. I think so far in this match, once one player has crested over 100,000 points in favor, they have not given that advantage up at all. So we're halfway through this map and almost 200,000 points. I think it's pretty safe to say this one's already going the way of Rykaii. It's just too much for Zecks to be able to get back at this point in the map. Oh, and unfortunate for Rykaii, finds the slider break, so a very sad tail here. Slider breaking right in the middle of the map, so that's going to cap their score pretty heavily, but still going to be such an insane score here on this hidden 4. I think Zecks is putting up a pretty average performance on this map as far as what is to be expected of most players on a map like this, but Rykaii is just far exceeding expectations on this map, so does end up actually dropping a real miss. Not just going to be the 1x slider break in the middle of the map, but still going to be such a crazy score. Over 300,000 points in favor of Rykaii. I think we'll just let this one play out. There's really not much to be said here. With neither player getting slow slidered. It gets so scary close every time I see that slider, but yeah. That's a pretty decisive second point for Rykaii once again. Winning out on 2 of the hidden maps. Now, hidden 2 is banned, but there is still that hidden 1 available to Rykaii, so after that, though, I'm not sure where Rykaii would want to go. You have the hidden 2 and the Nomad 6 bans from Zecks. And I believe it was Nomad 2 and DT2 bans for Rykaii, so let me see Zecks dip their toes into some of the DT pool here, or are we going to see them stick with the Nomads and the Hard Rocks? As we saw them do in yesterday's match versus Exia. That is the question. Well, there's still both the Hard Rocks available. There's the Hard Rock 4 and the Hard Rock 3. The Hard Rock 3 is going to be the standard CS 6.5 finger control precision, but we're going into the Hard Rock 4 here. Kind of the speedier map of the 2. It's going to be almost a consistency test here on this one. It'll be at 250 BPM though. Adds a little bit of a speed aspect to this one. Question is, are there timeouts? The answer for that, I'm not actually sure. I'll let the ref handle that one. Because I'm not familiar. I would assume there are not, but I think if emergency be, then exceptions could be made, but it doesn't look like it's that big of an emergency as both players are saying GOHF, so we're going to get into map number 5 now. Zecks' third pick. Both players have won out on both of their own picks thus far. Rykaii boasting the claim that they cannot play Hard Rocks earlier, and maybe a little bit of Caster Curse for me as I said their name. They just missed on air, but I would argue that they're doing pretty solid at keeping up with Zecks on some of these Hard Rock picks so far in this match. So far, it's pretty dead even here. The accuracies are looking very similar for both of these players. A slight advantage in favor of Zecks. Slight combo advantage as well. That very early miss from Rykaii, but anything can happen. We're crossing the halfway mark, though. 250,000 points each for both of these players. Zecks will be the first one to reach over that 300,000 threshold. But we're getting into the solo section now. A lot of hundreds from Rykaii. And Zecks gonna be the first to fall. Rykaii is holding onto the combo, but ends up dropping shortly after. But Zecks has done a lot of damage here off the early misses from Rykaii, and the massive accuracy drop from Rykaii as well is gonna be not helping him whatsoever. Both players trading on the exact same note as well now, so Zecks is gonna be holding on to about 70,000 points of a score advantage, but anything could happen. Rykaii gonna be finding a couple more misses now as Zecks finds a complete chain miss. Rykaii held through that pretty solid. 50,000 points now separating these two players going into the final section of the map. There's just such little time left and not enough score left, I think. Rykaii gonna be finding a miss. I think that does it. Zecks is barely secured yet another point for themselves, and Rykaii is keeping these points close for Zecks. That's another nail-biter of a performance, albeit a little bit less of a nail-biter, but still. Zecks going to be putting up a third point on the board. And you have to imagine it's going to be the hidden one pick from Rykaii. That is the only hidden pick available. Both players have picked respectively Hard Rocks and Hiddens only, and have won on their Hard Rocks and Hiddens only. So, as pointed out in the chat, thank you, Peekapone. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I wonder if the Nomad 2 and the Double Time 2 ban will be biting Rykaii at all here. If we expect Zecks to pick the Hard Rock 3 next, then yeah, it's going to be the hidden one pick for Rykaii. We expected this. And thus far, it's been pretty heavily in favor of Rykaii on all of the previous hidden picks, but we haven't seen a pick similar to this map. Lusky map. Shout out to Lusky. OG mapping friend of mine. But yeah, these players are keeping it very interesting here. GLHF's coming out. Map number 6, this was Rykai's third pick, who so far has won all of their own picks pretty decisively. Zecks has won only one of their picks in a relatively decisive fashion. The other two have been within 50-ish thousand points of each other. It is going to be Zecks first to fall on this map. Again, going to be on the shorter side of maps. This one's only 2 minutes in length. So these early misses could really bite you in the butt the further the map goes, but fortunately for Zecks, he does find another miss, but it gets traded out by Rykaii, so that will put a little bit of a stop to score advantage that he's getting, but he's still holding on to a nasty 98.5% accuracy here on this disgusting aim control mech. It's going to be Rykaii finding more and more misses, though. Yeah, it's so easy to just find massive amounts of misses on a map like this hidden one. Right now, it's only 30,000 points in favor of Rykaii as well, so Zecks is doing solid to keep it from getting too out of control, but still, it could be tough. We're over the halfway mark right now, and 50,000 points is separating these two players. Zecks kind of has to hope for a lot more misses from Rykaii as we get into a lot more of this linear aim patterns. Rykaii does end up dropping combo in a pretty inopportune spot for themselves, but Zecks ends up missing shortly after. That's not the greatest spot to be missing as well. Now 80,000 points in favor of Rykaii and continuing to climb as Zecks finds a couple more misses, and now only a quarter left of the map, and it's just looking worse and worse for Zecks. We're already over 100,000 points, and yeah, I mean, I said it earlier, once one player reaches over 100,000 points, I think they have always won that pick by a pretty decisive margin. The map is coming to a close. This is going to be a 3rd point on the board for Rykaii. Albeit the final hidden pick left in the pool to them, but still a 3rd point all the same. 130,000 points when all is said and done. 360,000 for Rykaii, 225,000 for Zecks. Pretty good scores here, but yeah, Zecks still has one more Hard Rock. And I imagine we're going to be going to Hard Rock 3 here. Going to be the next pick for Zecks. If not the Hard Rock 3, then most likely something in the Nomad pool. Something like the Nomad 5. I know Zecks picked that against Exia yesterday's matchup and did pretty well on that. Nomad 5 is going to be the pick, not going to be going into the Hard Rocks to close out the Hard Rock pool. Yeah, Zecks in yesterday's match got a 2x miss, 530k, with 99.2% accuracy on this Nomad 5, so will we be seeing a repeat performance? If not an improvement on that, I could very easily see Zecks getting a better score on this than what they were able to get yesterday. Here we go, map number 7. We're keeping it close between these two players. Both of them really want to win. This is going to be a pretty typical Nomad 5 shred map. A lot of these fast shred patterns, and Rykaii going to be first of all in some of these patterns. It's already given a pretty sizable advantage, especially with the accuracy disparity towards Zecks. 2.5 minutes on this pick, and yeah, only 99% for Zecks, 94.7 for Rykaii. It's gonna have to hope for some mistakes from Zecks pretty soon, or it's gonna start to get really out of control, because dropping that combo as early as they did, it's actually pulling good dividends for Zecks right now, as Rykaii finds another break. No trades to be seen from Zecks, so this is looking better and better for Zecks' next pick. Yeah, Rykaii is just struggling right now on the cursor aim. Unfortunate, but just is not nearly as comfortable on this long-term style of shred and tapping here. It's just so taxing on the player, and Zecks just looks so calm and collected on this pick. This goes on for much longer. I do think that Zecks is going to pass their score that they got yesterday, and yeah, we're already coming up to that point. I mean, this is already a point for Zecks. It's not even a question, but the most dominant point that we have seen so far in this match. And yeah, Zecks is only just dropping below 99% accuracy for the first time, and yeah, I mean, we saw them do it in yesterday's match versus Exia, but you know, I kind of predicted this. I did not think that that was all Zecks was capable of, and unfortunately does find a miss at the very end. A little bit of a slip up on the finger control, but not gonna matter at all. It's already over 500,000 points in favor of Zecks, and already almost beating their score by over 200,000 points from their match versus Exia yesterday, so a very impressive improvement from Zecks. They dropped 520k in yesterday's match and improved it by almost 250,000, so really impressive score from Zecks. Pretty solid score from Rykaii for someone who's not necessarily so comfortable on tapping, but an immediate answer from Rykaii is going to be this Nomad 3 here on the snap ult. Please switch up from anything that we've seen so far in this match, and You had to go somewhere else for Rykaii. There's no more hiddens left available, so something like this Nomads might be a little bit challenging. Maybe a little bit coin flippy even, but you don't really have anywhere else to go. You're obviously not picking that Hard Rock 3. I think you just let Zecks pick that one on point. I think it's something like the Nomad 4 could be good for Rykaii. Yeah, I'm just looking at that Nomad 4 and this Nomad 3 for Rykaii potential final picks. I don't think we'll see them pick into the double times. And yeah, that Hard Rock 3 is probably off the table as well, so kind of starting to run dry for picks for both of these two players, I think. GLHF coming out from Rykaii as well as Zecks, so here to get underway here pretty shortly. Map number 8. This is Rykai's 4th pick, and again, there still have been no breakpoints thus far in this match. Zecks has, I think, one more straightforward pick in my eyes. The Nomad 4 is a little bit of a question for Rykaii from me. I'm not really too sure how they'll end up doing on that, but this pick is a must-win for Rykaii. You cannot afford to give any breakpoints up when you are this deep into the match. And just a friendly reminder, I know I've said this already, but this is still a loser's bracket match, and yeah, everything's on the line for these two players now. Rykaii, it's going to be the first to fall, finding a break on that reverse slider. A little bit upset about that. We saw a little Christian dance after that one. I just didn't hold on to their keyboard for as long as I needed to hold on to that slider, but it's not going to be too bad for them thus far. However, Zecks is hitting these patterns into the first KI section and doing really well right now. Keeping up with the accuracy of Rykaii. 1,000 points so far in favor of Zecks. Pretty solid to keep Rykaii at bay on their own pick. And both players come out of that KI section FCing it entirely. Really impressive scores so far from both of these players. We're coming up to the halfway mark of this map. 3.5 minutes. Might not seem like that short of amount of time, but it really is starting to close in on these players here. Especially as these combos are really starting to build up. It's almost 1,000 combo for Zecks so far, and 700 for Rykaii right now. One miss from either player can really seal the deal. We're into the second KI and neither player is wanting to give up any of their combo. This is getting ridiculous already. 400,000 points for Zecks, 340,000 points for Rykaii right now. And Rykaii is going to be the next one to fall again, finding another break. And Zecks is still holding through the second KI section. What is happening? Zecks is putting on an all-star performance right now. And this is the exact situation that I was saying you don't want to happen for Rykaii. You can't afford to give up this breakpoint because Zecks still has that Hard Rock 3. Zecks will go to match point if he's able to secure this breakpoint right now. This is looking really bad for Rykaii. Kind of an unexpected performance from Zecks, I think, too. But this is kind of the nature of how it goes when you're kind of gambling that your opponent will be worse at you on one specific mod, and then you run out of that mod. I mean, what do you pick? No mods? And then you're just gambling like here. Zecks is just dropping a casual 750,000 on this Nomad 3 after putting up just an absolute bomb of a score on that Nomad 5 as well, so does end up dropping the combo. Unfortunately, will not be the full combo for Zecks, but still a very scary spot to be in for Rykaii. Has to win all 3 of the next maps. Or, excuse me. Yeah, all 3 of the next maps. That includes Tiebreaker in order to move on in this tournament's losers bracket. So, very, very unfortunate showing here. And a double S rank for both of these players. 2 S's. It's kind of it's crazy. We're on like a 7-star pool here. And we're just casually, both of us, S ranking the Nomad 3. So, very impressive scores for both of these 2 players. Honestly, 520,000 points against most any other player, that would have been more than enough to have gotten the point. Especially with that kind of accuracy, 98.5. It's just not enough. That put up a monstrous score. 1,500 combo, so really nice. And it's not going to be the Hard Rock 3, actually. It's going to be the TT3 tapping pick, Valley of the Veil. Interesting that we get to see this one here. Or what is to be Zecks' final pick of the match. Even if Zecks loses this pick, it's still going to be their last one. A little bit farmy of a map. A lot of these players are pretty familiar with this one. If not the specific difficulty, at least this map set. Again, this one's going to come up to about 3.5 minutes. Now, thankfully, it is only AR-10. So, don't have to worry about it going over that AR-10 for either of these 2 players who may or may not be comfortable with ARs above 10. Not fully sure about either of them and their skill sets for that. GLHFs are coming out for what very well could be the last map of this match. Zecks getting the first breakpoint on that last pick does put them to match point, so Rykaii needs to win not only this breakpoint, but it's their next map pick as well in order to take this one to tiebreaker, and that's anybody's game at that point. I do think if Rykaii wins this pick, I think we are going to see the Nomad 4 as Rykai's final pick, but a lot of finger control in these sections. And a lot of accuracy drops for Zecks as well. We saw Zecks win with the lower accuracy on the last pick. You're able to get more combo than the other player, it doesn't matter. Right now, it's Rykaii holding on to a sizable advantage. Despite both players still holding on to their FCs, it's Rykaii with the 50,000 point advantage, so... I think the fact that this isn't above AR-10 is really helping out both of these players. But the shakes are starting to look so nasty. I don't want to curse anything, but it's getting scary here. Both players still holding on to the FCs. A little bit of an act drop from Rykaii, but still doing solid to keep Zecks at bay, but we're over 2/3 of the map, and Rykaii finally ends up dropping. And this is a complete disaster. That score is going to completely shift the way of Zecks as Rykaii finds yet another miss. And Zecks is looking so prime, but Zecks ends up dropping as well. We're going to keep it within 5,000 points now. Rykaii going to be finding a couple of misses of their own, but this is a complete disaster for Zecks. They had the opening to run away with this one, and what was essentially the only free combo of this entire map. 10,000 points separating these 2 players. Zecks holding on to the combo advantage, but Rykaii holding on to the accuracy advantage going into the final section of the map. 20,000 points now in favor of Zecks. Rykaii dropping a little bit of accuracy, and that's not helping them. That's actually hurting them more than anything. 18,000 points climbing now for Rykaii. 10,000 points. Could it go back the way of Rykaii? They needed to go back the way of Rykaii. 5,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. We're on the last note, and it switches over, and it's barely enough for Rykaii to be able to get that break point. Rykaii going to get it done just barely within 6,000 points of not being able to get it. And it's not even over. Rykaii still has to win their next pick, but we've got such a crazy match on our hands right now. Answer back with the breakpoint to keep Rykaii in it for just one more pick longer, at the very least. Rykai's gonna toss it up. Hey man, what do you want to play? A very cordial question for Zecks, but I think the answer is Nomad 4. If I had to put my bet on the final pick for Rykaii, is either the Nomad 4 or the Nomad 1. Don't think you picked the DT1. I don't think you picked the DT4. And I'm not so sure about the Hard Rock 3. The Hard Rock 3 actually might be good for Rykaii because Rykaii was able to match on 2 of the other Hard Rocks pretty close versus Zecks. I think it was like 10,000 on that Hard Rock 2 and what was it, 50,000 on the Hard Rock 4. But yeah, it's the Nomad 4. I mean, it's the Nomad 4, right? Like, what do you expect? This is fairy mapping. This is slider tech. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about it other than that. If you're familiar with any kind of fairy maps, then you will know how this map will go. Rykaii needs to win this one in order to take this one to tiebreaker, and what an absolute cinema that would be. One of these players will move on. One of these players will be eliminated entirely. Both of these players want it so bad. Let's drop 200k together. Oh goodness. Gonna be a complete fiesta from the looks of how these two players are typing. Or will one player rise up to the occasion and come out on top with a pretty sizable advantage? We'll see, but GLHF's come out for what could very well be the final time once more. Zecks, again, is still at match point. Only needs to win one more map in order to knock Rykaii out of the tournament. Rykaii needs to win this pick in order to get to the tiebreaker. That alone is still going to be a toss-up. Will they be able to do it? I have good faith in Rykaii. I think Rykaii can do it. GLHF's come out. Both of these players are prepared for the final pick in relegation. Before we get to a tiebreaker situation. It's going to be on the Nomad 4, map number 10. A little bit of cut streams in this one as well. It's not all slider tech. It's going to be important that you've got good aim control, good finger control as well. Else you will find plenty of misses. Now it is Zecks holding on to more of the combo, just slightly though. Rykaii only dropped one slider in, now making that a couple of misses as well, so not a great start for Rykaii on this beginning section, but plenty of time for Zecks to make some mistakes of their own. Right now, Zecks is looking so locked in on this final pick. Rykaii needs a complete fall apart for Zecks right now, or else this is going to be too little, too far gone. Already halfway through the map and over 100,000 points in favor of Zecks, already surpassing that 200,000 point, 300,000 now. And this is looking so bad for Rykaii. Zecks finally ends up dropping right in the middle of the map. That is the worst point to miss in the map. If Rykaii is able to hold on to their combo all the way up until the very end, I think they can have enough time to bring this one back. Worked up about 350 combo in favor of themselves, as Zecks finds more misses. That's closed down that score gap from 150,000 to 70,000. Rykaii hits that space stream into the final section, but Rykaii ends up dropping that combo. It's still 30,000 points. I think there's still plenty enough time to do it. 40,000 points separating these two players. Zecks is going to be finding a couple of misses. Going into the last quarter of the map now, 30,000 points still in favor of Zecks. Now Rykaii going to be dropping, but still keeping it really close. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to be enough. It's anyone's game at this point. Zecks finds a miss here into the final section of the map. 25,000 points. It's really close now. 20,000. Closing 19,000, 18,000. We're coming into the last few nodes of the map. 17, 15, and not going to be enough. close to the very end, all the way through, and GG, well played. Unfortunately for Rykaii, not going to be enough to get it done. Just barely under 400,000 points, and yeah, Zecks knocks Rykaii out of this tournament entirely. GG, well played to both players, but, you know, at the end of the day, somebody had to win. Unfortunate for them. It's not going to be Rykaii. Zecks moving forward in the losers bracket into the semifinals weekend. Congratulations to Zecks. Congratulations to Rykaii for making it this far, and plenty more matches thus far today, starting with one in about 10 minutes, as well as I think like 4 or 5 more after that. So yeah, stay tuned. Excuse me, 2 matches in about 10 minutes. Yeah, Remindra and the Azer match going to be happening very shortly, so stick around for those if you are interested. I believe there will be a separate stream for one of them. I believe Azer and Flat Paper are going to be on the main stream, so yeah, Remindra and Marwin on whatever the B stream is. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I've been It's Pigeon, and stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.